let's take a look at how we change our old recipes into new ones. I could have made this a how to cook healthy food session, but you know what? It's not much different than the cooking you're familiar with. So let me instead show you how to simply transform your favorite recipes into healthier ones and turn your pantry into a non-toxic zone. What kind of food should we eat? Well, it's really quite simple. Raw organic fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, and a small amount of hormone-free meat. You can add an ion exchange whey powder to your diet to make sure you get a high quality of absorbable protein. I do believe that a vegetarian diet is a good way to go, provided you get enough protein. So it might require a bit of research before you get started. Now let me show you what I've prepared here for us today. Let's start with breakfast. Breakfast is a very important part of the day, and I think it's really important that you get a high dose of protein in at that time. Eggs is an excellent source of protein. You can also make yourself an ion exchange whey powder or get yourself some organic yogurt. That's a good way, and it's an excellent way for your children to start their day as well. It'll help them concentrate better in school and be able to pay more attention. As you can see here on the video, the eggs are more yellow than normal eggs, and that's really caused by the eggs being free-range eggs, and they come from really healthy chickens, and they're organic, meaning the food that the chickens have eaten is all organic. And this is a good time to get some of your fibers. I have a whole grain bran muffin in here, and a good way to take that is perhaps maybe an hour or so after you eat your protein. That way you ensure better digestion. But in general, just remember, at breakfast time, eat your eggs. Don't worry about your eggs. There's nothing wrong with eggs. If you're worried about cholesterol, you get a whole lot more cholesterol out of beef and other meats than you would out of a couple of eggs. It's an easy absorbable form of protein. And again, if you do the yogurt or any of the other dairy products, just make sure you get the organic so they don't have any hormones in the milk. Now, let's do lunch. First, let me show you what I have on the platter here today. I have some organic free-range sliced turkey without any of the nitrates in it. And then I have what I really like to eat for lunch, and that is tuna packed in water. And you can get different types of tuna. You can get tuna that's caught in areas where there's no dolphins to save the dolphins. So that's one way you can help out there. But this is definitely packed in water. And then what I mix in there, I mix organic, fat-free, plain yogurt instead of mayonnaise. Now, of course, if you prefer to stick with your mayonnaise, you can do that. There's also organic mayonnaise out there. But I like to save some calories and some fat on it, so I've just put the yogurt in there, and it tastes just fine. And then some organic pickle relish. And I mix that all up and then serve it on a bed of lettuce. And then I also have on here a little bit of Greek noodle salad. So what I have is some whole wheat noodles with olives and a little bit of Parmesan, organic Parmesan cheese and vegetables, etc., etc. So that's one way you can eat a lunch and make it a little festive. But another thing you can also do is eat an air sandwich. And an air sandwich, what you pretty much do there, you pretend you're making a sandwich. You take lettuce. If you choose to have the tuna on top, you could do that, or you can do the turkey. And then put your tomato, your cheese. If you do cheese, you might want to do some of the organic cheeses. Pickle relish you can put on there if you need more of that, or just plain pickles, cucumber slices, olives, whatever you like to have on your sandwich, you just load on there and make a nice lay of it. And then you just need to learn to eat European style, which is pretty much knife and fork. And then you just eat your sandwich with a knife and fork. It takes a little getting used to, but when you get the hang of it, it's not a problem. And you're pretty much telling yourself that you're getting a sandwich, but you don't get all the empty carbohydrates that are in the bread that you really don't need. Now let's go to dinner. First, let me show you what I have on the platter. Here you'll see a whole wheat crusted quiche. It has the organic cheese in there, vegetables, and then, as I said, the organic crust in there to give you a little more B vitamins and fiber. Now, I don't really suggest that you eat carbohydrates for dinner. I would do it early in the day and just have a carbohydrate-free or very low carbohydrate at dinner time. But I put this on here because that's what most people are used to eating. But again, if you just have a platter with vegetables and protein, that's really the ideal way of eating dinner. So you can see, again, we have the same lettuce on here that I really, really enjoy. Just get a bag of mixed greens that are all organic. And then we have a little bit of feta and olive, again, to make a little Greek salad out of this. You'll also find some noodles in here. The noodles we have here at dinner is organic brown rice noodles with an organic tomato sauce on top. So of course you do the exact same thing as you normally would with your noodles. You just boil the noodles up, but in this case you use either brown rice noodles or whole wheat noodles, and you can get them organic. And as you can see, a lot of new things that come out in the market. There's a new manicotti noodle out that's organic, and you can get mixes. Now, mixes are really for people who don't have the time to go in there and make everything from scratch. But when you do mixes, at least get the mixes that don't have a whole long list of ingredients with MSG and all kinds of artificial color and preservatives in there. Here's an Alfredo mixture. You just put milk and butter in it and mix it up and pour it over your noodle, and you have an excellent Alfredo sauce. Easy to make, fast, and without any junk in there. Different other things that you could do as well, just as you would normally. Get your taco shell. In this case, it's organic corn taco shells. And then again, you can use one of the mixes for your taco seasoning, or you can create your own from scratch, which of course is always to be preferred. But in this case, you have the Southwest taco mix without MSG or any of the other additives in there. And then you simply just take the turkey we talked about when we were at the health food store. This is the free-range Shelton's turkey. It's ground up in the packet, so you just saute it in a little bit of oil if you choose, or I just dry saute it. Just get a pan and then dry it, saute it till it's all crumpled. Add my mix and some water, and then cut up whatever I normally would use for my tacos, and then put it in the taco shell. So as you can see, it's really, really easy to cook healthy. You just replace the ingredients you're used to with some healthy ingredients. Now, as you get into healthy cooking, you'll probably tend to do more fruits and vegetables, and you'll do less of the simple carbohydrates like white flour and white bread, and get into it a little bit more. But for now, just replace everything you normally do with healthy ingredients. And that's all it takes. Another thing I really like for dinner is soup. We have really nice vegetable soup right here, but I know it requires a little more work to do. Of course, you can find organic vegetable soups in a can. I would suggest that you try to make it, even if you make a big batch and then freeze some of it, which, by the way, is an excellent way for you to save some time. And if you are not one of those people who like to stay in the kitchen, you might consider that when you're in there to make double portion and then freeze half of it. Now let's talk toxin-free pantry. What you might want to do is take a look at what you really have in your pantry. You'll probably be surprised how many additives and MSG and other things that are in the spices that you have in your cupboard. So little by little, replace it. What you can do, you can either just buy replacement bottles like this that are organic and non-irradiated, or you can go to a bulk section of a health food store and buy bulk herbs, which is much cheaper, and then you just clean out the old containers real well and put the spices back in there. Another thing that you should be aware of is baking powder. Now, this is aluminum-free, but normal baking powder has aluminum in it. And aluminum, again, is not something we should have in our diet for sure. Now, oils really should be in the refrigerator, mainly because they go rancid, especially the unrefined, cold-pressed, and in this case, I have a certified organic. It's pretty hard to get one that has everything on there. Certified organic, cold-pressed, and unrefined. But if you can find it, that's really the way to go. And then it should be in a dark bottle to prevent it from going rancid as well. Now let me give you some baking tips. First, let me show you the difference in the different flours. We've talked about wheat berry and the importance of getting the whole grain when you do eat your grains. Now this is the wheat berry, how it looks by itself when it's just harvested. It has the whole shell around it. You can just tell it's really, really dark. The next step is what I've grounded up in my Vitamix. What I usually use with that, I grind this up, and you can see it's a little more coarse than the whole wheat flour, which is what you can buy in the store. But this I take, if I have a dish that really requires white flour to be light and fluffy, I just throw a handful of that in there, and I just grind it up right there. I have the wheat in the freezer, and then I just take it out a little bit before I need to use it. But of course, you can't put it in a regular blender. You have to have a blender that can handle dry, or a little old coffee grinder will work real well. So I get the fibers and the B vitamins out of it, and then I just put a little bit of that in the white flour, and then I add some extra nutrients to that. Then this is a little finer. That's the whole wheat that you'll be able to find in the store. Of course, make sure you get organic, okay? This is whole wheat pastry flour. It's grounded up a little finer, and it works pretty good in pastries that you like. Now, this is white flour. However, it's not your regular white flour. This is the health food store organic unbleached white flour. But this works just like white flour when you're cooking it in a recipe. So if you're making some fine pastry, you might want to use that. Or again, sometime when I need to make a pastry, I add a little handful of that in there. And in the beginning, what I suggest, you just try this. Just switch from your regular flour into organic unbleached white flour, and then add a little bit of the whole wheat flour in there little by little till your family starts saying, oh, that's a little too horsey, like horse food right now, and then you just back off on it. But that's the best way to get going. Butter, in moderation. I happen to really like butter, so I use it but very seldom, and when I do, I use the organic butter. Okay, that's the way to do it. But if you're trying to cut down on fat in your diet, what you can do, you can mix in some applesauce instead of your oil or your butter. So what you do, you pretty much take, maybe if you use half a cup of this and half a cup of applesauce, you get a lot lower fat product out of it, and it still tastes good. You have to be careful not getting too much applesauce in there. It gets kind of gummy. But the applesauce worked great for that, and it also gives it a nice sweet taste, so you can use less sugar. Now, as far as sugar goes, of course, again, you have your white refined sugar that we're going to try to eliminate, right? Instead, you might want to venture into either some of your raw unfiltered honeys, or what I call the raw sugar. What it is, it's really more than raw sugar, because most raw sugar today is just white sugar with caramel color, so it looks like it's brown, but it really isn't. This is sucanat. And what sucanat is, it's pretty much just the sugar cane. It's just grounded up and dried. It has not been refined in any way, shape, or form. So it's a little more complex, therefore it goes into the bloodstream slower. And it bakes up good, it's sweet. It doesn't crystallize as much as other types of sugar would, but it works quite well, especially if you're using it in bread recipes. It's no problem at all. And of course, I suggest you get the organic kind. Now, one thing that you can also do, instead of frying food, so if you need to fry something in your baking, dry fry it in organic, free-ranged, fat-free chicken broth. And that's one way you save having to use all the oil and the fat in your cooking itself. And it works great. I mean, you can saute onions, you can saute celery, and whatever else you normally would saute in oil in just a little bit of non-fat chicken broth. So that's the way to go. In closing this session, let me give you 10 easy rules to start out with. 1, don't eat boxed dry meals. They're dead foods and will give you no nutrients but plenty of artificial color, flavor, preservatives, and are usually high in salt. 2, use whole grains like brown rice and whole wheat bread and whole wheat noodle for better nutrition and for more fiber. Limit the amount of carbohydrates you eat, especially simple carbohydrates such as white flour and sugar. 3, cut down on refined sugar, both the white and the brown sugar. 4, bake, broil, and steam instead of frying. You can dry fry, as we talked about, in the fat-free organic chicken broth if you have to. 5, when baking, try to use applesauce instead of part of the butter or oil, and mix your white flour with some whole wheat flour, unbleached, until your family is ready for all the whole wheat. 6, eat more cold water fish. It's an excellent source of essential fatty acid, but don't get the farm-raised kind. 7, increase your consumption of raw fruits and vegetables. Remember, we have to get those 5 servings at least of fresh fruit and vegetables in our diet a day. 8, eat smaller, more frequent meals. It will help balance your blood sugar and help your digestion. You can eat little palm meals, whatever fit in the palm of your hand is about the size you should be eating. 9, use organic whenever possible. This will prevent you from eating things with pesticide, herbicide, insecticide, and genetically manipulated food. 10, trying to find an herbal tea to substitute for your coffee. You should be getting your energy from your own body and not from a cup of coffee beans. Organic food might cost you a little bit more. even though the demand is growing by leaps and bounds, so it won't be long before the price will be similar to regular food. But you know what? You're worth it. And I know you can find another place to save those few extra dollars. Like, for example, only have a latte once a week, and perhaps stop buying empty snack food like chips, pop, and candy. You'll be surprised how much all that stuff costs you. Have fun with your cooking.